Hello and welcome to Our Irish Life. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you a bit more about the Irish education system. In particular, I'm going to be covering post-primary education. So I have done a previous video on pre-primary and primary education, so if that's what you're looking for, then please do go check them out. As always, I am not an expert in this area. I have done my best to gather relevant information for you and accurate information, and I'm also working off personal experience having been through the Irish education system myself. So hopefully you find it useful. We'll go through a few things. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but I'll do my best to cover everything. I do have notes here as well, so I am going to be looking up and down, so I do apologise. So for post-primary education then, you normally start this at about 12 or 13 here in Ireland, depending on your circumstances and when you started your primary education. So I'm first going to go through what kind of different types of secondary schools there are, and then I'll go into more detail on like exams and curriculum and stuff like that. So yeah, post-primary education is provided by different types of primary schools. So they're also known as secondary schools here. That's what most people refer to them as. So there are free secondary schools that are part of the free education scheme that's funded by the state, and they do not have fees. Obviously, it comes with other kind of costs and expenses such as uniforms and stuff like that. There is actually, starting this year in September 2025, there is a free school books and classroom resources that are going to be provided for junior cycle, and they are hoping to provide it for the senior cycle then. So just something to note. We also do have private schools here that charge fees as well, same as the primary education. So, and then as with the primary education, then there's obviously a variety of choices when it does come to either private or public secondary schools. So there's denominational ones then that focus on one particular religion, such as Catholic, for example. There are also multi-denominational ones that will teach children about different beliefs equally. Then you have the Gael Colostas then, which teach through the use of the Irish language. I mentioned in a previous video about primary education that there are Gael schools that teach through the Irish language as well. So generally, if you are going to a Gael Colostas, you would have needed to have gone to a Gael school beforehand so that you're familiar with learning through the Irish language, because they teach all subjects through it. So then to find a school then, there is an find a school tool, which I will link below. I am going to provide lots of different links, especially to the ones where I found this information as well, just so if you need to have a look through yourself, you can. So I'll link the find a school tool below, and then all of the schools have their own admissions policy. So it's best to just contact them and see what way you can apply, because it really depends on like where you're coming from, what year you're going into, stuff like that. So they all are quite helpful. They have stuff listed online, and you can contact school offices as well to get more information. So just generally about secondary school then. So as I said, you normally start at the age of 12, and the post-primary school education in secondary school has two different stages then. So the junior cycle is what you do when you're about 12 to 15 approximately. Obviously this can range a little bit. And then senior cycle is about 16 years of age to 18 years of age approximately. So for the junior cycle then, there is many different subjects that can be taken. Each school is different. They don't all provide all of the options. They are offered also at an ordinary or higher level, so depending on your abilities or your children's abilities. So for most then, you have to study Irish, English, maths and history, and depending on schools there may be some other compulsory subjects as well. So then at the end of the 3 years of the junior cycle then, there's state examinations known as the Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. So this involves a written exam, and it also involves work that was completed over second and third year of being in secondary school as well. So after this point in the examinations then, there is the option to go on to fourth year, also known as transition year. So this is kind of a different type of year, and it's kind of allows children to experience different forms of education and instruction and like work experience and stuff like that. It is optional in most schools, so you can choose to skip this year or take part in it. It is a great opportunity. There's lots of different things, like some schools do exchange programs with other countries to learn the language, like I said, work experience. There's lots of different things that they can do. But yeah, it's optional. You can choose to do it or just move straight on to 5th year and do the final 2 years of the senior cycle then. So it can be 2 or 3 years depending on if you do 4th year or not. So then at the end of the senior cycle of 2 or 3 years, there is another state examination then known as the Leaving Cert. So this is the main basis then on which students are allocated places in like universities, institutes of technologies and colleges of education. So if they wish to go on to 3rd level education, obviously there's lots more options in between that I'll also talk about later in the video. So in general for the Leaving Cert then, students take 5 or more subjects. It's usually 7 for examination, that's the standard number. So then they're either examined at higher or ordinary level, as I said before, depending on the level of ability and what the students are comfortable with. And also Irish and Maths can be studied at a foundation level, which is a bit below ordinary level, just to make it easier if that's what's needed. There are separate oral exams then for languages and stuff like that, so just something to note, and they're considered then in the final overall score. And then based on the results from the Leaving Cert then, you get a certain number of points then for your grades. So there is a CAO portal and they will tell you exactly what points you get for what grades you achieve then in your Leaving Cert. So there is an 8-point grading system for what you achieve in your Leaving Cert for each different subject, and then all of those points that you get for the grades you get added up, and then each course in a 3rd level education will have a certain number of points that they require you to have, and like specific entry requirements. This could be 1 language, needs to be 1 science, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's how that works for getting into 3rd level education then specifically. So on to further education then and adult education. So obviously there are many different types of options. We do have a national framework of qualifications, also known as the NFQ, which has 10 levels of education, and you can look on their website to go through exactly what all of them are. So they can be achieved through many different means. So there is post-Leaving Cert courses, also known as PLCs. So these can be useful for people who may not want to go straight into college after they have left secondary school. They may be that little bit younger as well if they did not do the transition year TY. So, and also for trying out things if they're not completely sure of what it is that they want to do for the rest of their lives, which is understandable. And also it is a way to kind of further things on if you didn't quite get the CAO points that you needed for the course that you were hoping to do. So next then we have educational training boards, or ETBs. So they offer loads of different courses at different levels as well. They offer a more practical and technical education, and it's also an alternative route to 3rd level education as well. So then the apprenticeships then, so for the likes of plumbing, electrical engineering and lots of other things, it's definitely becoming a more widely available thing for many different areas. So you get your obviously on-the-job training, and you also get your off-the-job educational side. So then we also have Springboard Plus. So this offers free higher education courses to people who are unemployed and also looking to return to the workforce. And finally then we have 3rd level education. So this is your universities, technological universities, Institute of Technologies or ITs, and then colleges of education as well, so that specialise in training for like primary teachers and stuff like that. So in 2025 here, the top 3 3rd level institutions were Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin or UCD, and University College Cork, also known as UCC. So obviously there are different ways to get into these colleges. So they all have their own applications and stuff like that. So, and it obviously depends on if you're going straight from secondary school using CAO points to get your choices, or if you're returning as an adult, it may be slightly different. They all do have websites that you can look for more information on, and they have various open days and people you can contact, and like they're always very helpful. Personally, having gone to UCD myself. I do know that I had a great time there. It was brilliant, really great education. Having spoken to people who went to like institutes of technologies and stuff like that, they did seem to get a more kind of practical approach and more kind of skills-based things that would carry on better into the workforce. I do think universities are kind of more on the academic side. Now that could just be my personal view, could be completely different for people, but it's just something to note if you're ever considering which to choose from and stuff like that. It's important to consider all aspects. So yeah, if you're looking for more information on that, they're always very helpful, and you can contact various different people to get more information. But yeah, that is just a main run through of post-primary education here in Ireland. If you have any further questions, please do pop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. As I said, I'm no expert, but I may be able to send on a few links that may help to point you in the right direction. But hopefully it's given you a good overview in general. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon for more of Our Irish Life.